What?
Good
So you're
enough.
what? So you were telling me if someone knows French, like if someone's fluent with French, if they start preparing like ahead of time before moving to Canada, they can waive off up to 90% of their tuition fee.
Yeah.
Let me feel big to be an immigrant.
Welcome back to another episode of My Personal Mentors. Damn, it feels good to be an immigrant, an online platform for immigrants to help them succeed in Canada. Today we have an amazing panel where we have all three immigrants. So, it's going to be fun, it's going to be relatable, it's going to be very homely feeling. That's what I'm looking forward to, right? Informal, uncensored, all for our immigrant fam. Well, we have Isha here. Isha, how's it going?
Hi. I'm doing very good. Happy to be here with you guys.
Awesome, awesome. How was your day? How's your day been so far? How's your Sunday been so far?
Well, Sunday's been good. Just your regular, usual, quiet Sunday, getting ready for the week, doing chores around the house, like gardening, laundry, and whatnot.
Cheers to bachelor's life, bachelor's immigrant's life. That's amazing. Let's kick it off with a quick round of introductions. Again, we have an amazing panel. As I said, you have Chetanya, CEO of My Personal Mentor. And then we have Isha. Isha, for our audience, share a little bit about yourself. I know you're from Mauritius. Share a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you move here? How was that journey like?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Isha. I've been in Canada for about 5 years now, and I'm originally from Mauritius. And for those of you who don't know, it's a small island in the middle of the Indian Ocean. It's absolutely beautiful. And if you look at it, you might wonder why I've chosen to come to Canada. But I mean, so far, so good. No regrets. I came as an international student in 2017 to study accounting at the University of Ottawa. And it's been an absolutely amazing journey so far. I graduated last December, and now I'm working full-time as an accountant. So yeah, great journey overall, and I'm happy to be here with you guys to share my experience.
That's so exciting. 5 long years, I'm pretty sure it flew by like this, right? I feel like coming as an immigrant, when you're here all by yourself, no family, you're completely new to the culture, making friends. I feel like the time passes by so fast and you don't even realize that. But again, I love that you've had such an wholesome journey. And I'm curious, like, why Canada? Coming from Mauritius, and I feel like everybody knows Mauritius, dude. Like, it's so beautiful. I feel like everyone should know about Mauritius. But yeah, why Canada? Why not US? Why not any other country? Why not UK? Like, what was that oomph factor? Like, hey, you know what? No, I want to go to Canada.
Yeah, I can answer that. So just for a bit of background, growing up in Mauritius, I've always been bilingual. So I spoke English and French growing up in school. And, growing up in Mauritius is very common for young people to go abroad to pursue their further studies, just because there are more options abroad, and it's also easier to start a career off. And in terms of choices, Canada was definitely one of the more popular destinations, just because of, the amazing job opportunities that also come with pursuing a degree, in terms of the ability to get a work permit to work here abroad after your degree, and potentially stay as well. So all of these factors definitely plays in, because at the end of the day, pursuing further studies is like an investment. And in terms of return on that investment, Canada definitely was on top of that list.
Amazing.
No, that's amazing. And interestingly, one thing that always stuck to me was, in Mauritius, people learn French from their in first or second standard, which is amazing. And I feel like in India, I think it's now growing, the transition of people now learning French in their high schools as well, which is amazing. I think seeing here how French can definitely increase and enhance your experience of Canadian journey as an international student, and definitely open so many more doors and opportunities to get jobs, part-time job, full-time job after graduation. So now that we're talking about the French thing, when you arrived here, what was your first part-time job, and do you think knowing French was a benefit for you to or if I can phrase it, did knowing French make it easier for you to get your first part-time job?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Ottawa is a capital city in Canada, and given that Canada is a bilingual country, of course, if you know both English and French, that already sets you apart from like
Mm.
over half of the candidates that are applying for the jobs. And
Mhm.
definitely, like as if you're doing part-time jobs, most of it has to do with like customer relationships, interacting with people around you, different backgrounds, different professions. So of
Mhm.
course, like if you have to talk to people, write emails, whatever it is, communication skills, knowing French is super helpful.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how I landed my first part-time job in Canada as an international mentor
Mhm.
at
Yeah.
international office
Mhm.
in my second year of university. So, and definitely like being bilingual was one of the requirements for me at
Mhm.
least for that job. So I was very happy to actually have that job. And I can say for sure that, it was like from that point on, it was just like a growing and learning experience
Mm.
that's going to be memorable for me. And so
For
I think
sure,
as
for
an
sure.
immigrant, it's always like, the first job that you have, that's
Mhm.
Yeah.
like the first like big step milestone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then everything else after that just becomes easier.
That's so
No,
exciting.
definitely,
You know, one thing
definitely.
I
In fact,
realized, I just
yeah, yeah.
realized this. We all three were student mentors.
Oh
You
yeah,
were,
actually.
yeah, you both were student mentors at U Ottawa, and I was here at UC
Mhm.
Irvine.
And that's
That's
where
exciting.
I met Isha actually for the very first time when I was
Oh,
interviewing
okay.
for that position. She was the one who was taking my interview.
Oh, nice,
Yes.
exciting.
That was interesting, and I was asking her how to write an email and stuff.
That's
Yeah.
exciting. Now that we kind of get into, the feel of French, as you talked about a little bit about benefits, of course, coming here, it was comparatively easier for you to kind of get into the feel of, getting interacting with customers. Of course, you're going to meet people who are more comfortable using French language. Some of them are like better with English. And I want to kind of, flip this question and ask this to Chaitanya. How difficult was it to get your first job when you did not know French? Did you see some struggles there?
Oh, definitely. I still remember. I think it took me good 3 to 4 months to get my first part-time job, and that too, it was in an Indian restaurant. I still remember people in Ottawa, do remember Amaya. It was a great experience, no doubt. Learned tons of experiences, Canadian culture and stuff like that, and that
Mhm.
eventually helped me to get into public sector one day. But I still remember like every single place where I was applying, I was not hearing back from any one of them because I
Mm.
think French was the very first part. And another thing is, a lot of people try to get into entry level thinking that it's easier. But if you think on a flip side, if you the entry level roles are the one that require you, most of them, I'm not saying a lot of them, but most of them require you to be client facing. And
Mm.
if you don't know, if you're not bilingual, then it's going to be a hard, it's going to be the first thing the where your application will be rejected because
Mm.
you're not able to handle those kind of situations. And I still remember the only reason why I was able to get into international mentor position within Ottawa U was that was a single position in Ottawa on campus job that was required as English essential,
Mm.
because I was handling the students coming from Indian, like Asian and
Mm.
Indian part,
Mm. Makes
right?
sense. Makes sense.
And I still remember I was competing with 250 plus applicants for that one position.
Wow.
So it's clearly, and to be very honest with you, if on my place out of those 250 plus, if anyone would have known French, that was a plus. I wouldn't have gotten that
Mm.
position,
Mm.
right?
That makes so much
So
sense. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
So
I
so
think.
so I clearly see so many benefits of knowing French when you
Mhm.
enter the Canadian feel, and the campuses on campus, like whether it's on campus, off campus. Again, Maya was off campus. International student mentorship was on campus. Talking a little bit about these benefits. Isha, is it true? Like, is that let me phrase this in a different way. Is this an attractive point for like students in Mauritius, like Mauritius, like that, hey, you know what, there's a stipend, we, because I know if you know French and if you take courses in French, then a lot of your tuition fee gets waived off, right? You pay as a domestic student, in easier words.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
mm,
Again, as international students, I think one of the not complaints, but
mm,
one of the things that stop a lot of people from coming and studying abroad and actually benefiting from this opportunity is the high tuition fees that are just there.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
And like as of now, international student fees are like 3 to 4 times the amount that
Yeah, dude.
domestic fees pay, right? So in that sense, when I was deciding between which university to choose from in Canada, definitely the University of Ottawa provides like this exemption for people who speak French and who would be eventually able to like take French classes and contribute to, you know, the economy after, like in the long run. But definitely that was an incentive that was provided to all students that spoke French. And personally for me, that made a huge difference. Just because tuition fees are very expensive, and it's just so much easier when you know in the back of your head that you don't have that burden on you or your parents. It's just easier to cope with it. And yeah,
No,
I mean,
absolutely. I always remember how stressful it was when I was in university, right? Like every single year, the level of the studies, it was going up, the stress was going up. But back in my mind, there was always one thing that, I'm paying international fees, these courses. And, this was one thing that also I used to get stuck in my mind, that someone sitting right beside me has the capacity to take this course again, but I cannot take this course again. So I have to perform. This is my one shot. Right. So I think that was I won't say that was a negative part of it, but that was definitely a stress back of my mind. You always have something running in your brain. And I feel like a lot of time that comes in a way when you're trying to do something out of the university life. And that's why, Praateek, coming back to it, that a lot of people feel like doing volunteer work, it's not paying them back. It's not the best use of their time, because they're paying such as, massive, huge amount of fees, and they want to use their time to the most amount. But I certainly, that was another thing that we were mentioning, that volunteer work can get you to many, many places. But yeah, I think international fees, stuff like that, definitely always, running back in the mind.
Yeah. I know it might not be the best question to ask, but I'm still very curious. Like, I know you can waive off tuition fee, but like, what's that percentage? Like, how much can you waive off? This is just out of curiosity.
Don't say that.
I don't need exact numbers, but like, what's like if someone's planning on coming, let's say from India, China, like Asian countries, and which is not heavily influenced by the French language, but there are opportunities there are services there that they can learn. So
Right.
as an incentive, how much do you think, is waived off, if you have to kind of, put some numbers?
Yeah, I mean, if you kind of have to think about it, apart from the basic exemption that they give to everybody who speaks French, there's also the opportunity to get scholarships here and there for every semester that you're with the university, you're taking classes with them. So if I think about it overall, it's up to, I want to say 80% that you can waive off. And of course, like the more scholarships you get, the better it is. It can get up to 90% if you're
What?
good
So
enough.
so you're telling me if someone knows French, like if someone's fluent with French, if they start preparing like ahead of time before moving to Canada, they can waive off up to 90% of their tuition fee?
Yeah, that's how it is. And
That's
and
great.
it can sound crazy, especially for people who are looking to, come in and study abroad.
Dude,
because-
that's literally like studying for free. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
no,
you're studying-
absolutely.
that is
Definitely.
crazy.
Bro, that is crazy. And honestly, now that I think about it, rather than preparing for ACT exams, I would have prepared for French. That would have given me many more
That's
many
so
more
true.
benefits, bro. Because those 2 years, if you even start studying French from 11th grade, you have two years, right? You can
yeah.
at least be good at it. And yeah, no, it's pretty crazy here.
Is there a level that you have to be at in order to kind of achieve these scholarships? Like, I know there's like A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. Like, what level would you recommend being while coming to Canada?
Yeah, I think, of course, like, you should be able to communicate properly and eventually write properly in the language. But that B2 is what they require.
B2,
So,
okay.
like, reasonable understanding of the language without getting too much into the details of it or getting too deep into it. But you should be able to know the language to the point where you can communicate.
That's interesting. Nice. So that's wholesome, dude. Yeah, like you came to Canada, you already had that good feel, good grasp of French. Of course, you've been speaking it throughout your life, so it was easier. And I feel like B2 is a good level just because, you have to take courses in it. And it's a fast-paced lifestyle. You're into like so many things. So you have to make sure that you're not just winging it. You know your shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you know what you're doing. So I think that's a good point. I'm curious, Isha, like, of course, you said, that was your first job, international mentorship. How is that, the whole 4 years? Like, if you had to like sum it up, whatever couple of things, couple of, maybe co-ops or internships that you did throughout those years.
Yeah, so that was my first job, being an international mentor. And then eventually, as I started having more experience, I did a couple of summer jobs on campus as well. Again, knowing French is extremely helpful in just getting interviews and eventually getting jobs on campus. And then again, I'm not going to say that just French is going to get you a job. Of course, like you need grades, you need volunteer experience, you need a whole package, right?
Yeah.
But having French there is already a huge asset that you're putting on your side, I want to say. And I got my first accounting position. It was a co-op position at a local accounting firm. So that was a great experience as well. And I think for me personally, one of the bigger highlights of my university journey was actually getting into a Big Four, even before graduating, like even before finishing my degree. Like I knew that I had a position there kept for me. And, as somebody who is in accounting, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, if you're in accounting or finance, that's like a huge dream for a lot of people.
That's awesome.
No, that's absolutely.
You're working for the Big Four even before graduating. Yeah. And do you have permanent residency? Are you a PR?
It's in the pipeline.
It's in the pipeline. So you still don't have it. You're on the work permit, right? If I'm correct.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Wow. So you're working
absolutely, bro. On-campus jobs, volunteer work, definitely. These are all, helping you to get that Big Four or get that public sector job. I would say, a lot of people say, oh, resume is not the only thing, get a public sector. Oh, French is not the only thing. These are not the only thing, but these are combined together. These are the things that's going to get you into these kind of jobs, right? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's all about your skills, your networking, your volunteer work, your what you are outside of the grades, right? In fact, talking about grades, Isha, what would you say, like, for an immigrant coming, right after 12th grade, coming to this land of opportunities? I know you had an amazing GPA, so let's not go there, but according to you, what would you, like, after 4 years, what would you suggest to an international student? How should he go about studies? Should he just be studying and focusing on having those 9+ GPA, or should he be, focusing on other stuff and developing those soft skills that can, eventually, like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I can elaborate on that. For me personally, definitely, like the first year that I was in university, I think there's also like this internal pressure on yourself that I've come abroad, I need to do my best here in terms of, what I'm here for, my studies. But then slowly, as you learn more about the Canadian culture, you start applying to jobs, you start to develop a network here, you realize that, okay, school is great, getting good grades is really nice, it's going to look good on paper, but that's not it. Having a 9.0 GPA is not going to get you jobs. Like you need like a whole package in that sense. You need to be an all-rounder. It takes a lot of networking, going to networking events, talking to people in your field, lots of volunteer work. People, especially, at the Big Four, people want to know that you're more than just somebody who can do good, academically speaking. They want somebody who's able to engage with clients and who's able to basically be a good fit for their company. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be willing to train you from scratch, but they want to make sure you have the right personality for them, right? That's where volunteering comes in, taking part in anything that you like, you want to do on campus that, has similar values to what you like doing in general. That's like super helpful. And I think it has paid off.
That's amazing. You nailed it right on the head, because I've said this in every podcast, dude, and I want to break the stereotype, and it always gets on my nerves because, like, why do we always run behind, like, ranks? You know what I mean? Like, all right, this is a big, best ranking school. This is, something that I'll get good grades with, good studies, jobs, studies. Why are we always running behind that? Because I sincerely feel that even if you might not be in the top school, best ranking school, but you're in a decent school where they have decent opportunities, but you have that mindset that you're going out there to, hustle hard, make your network, go out there, seek opportunities and fail.
Mhm.
I don't know why this is a taboo topic. Like, why don't we emphasize failing enough? Go out
Yeah.
there, fail. If you're not failing in those first 2 3 years of coming to Canada, how do you think you're gonna get successful down the line? Because if
Mhm.
you fail, then it's gonna hit you even more hard. You know what I mean?
For sure. For
So I
sure.
feel like, Aisha, that was amazing, dude. And I think it's been an amazing podcast so far. And I feel like I will leave my audience to hear, it's such an wholesome. We talked about such an important part, knowing French and how, dude, you can wave off 90%. Whew, that's just out of the box. I feel like, I'm kind of regretting to not come to Canada now. No, I'm kidding. I feel like no regrets. But for those who are planning on moving to North America, still deciding where to go, if Canada is an option, now you know what to do when you're moving to Canada. Well, I think
Yeah.
it's been an amazing session, guys. Any closing comments?
Now, I just want to ask one last thing, actually, before we come to an end. At what time, you felt like, okay, damn, dude, it feels good to be an immigrant in Canada?
That's $1 million question, right?
It is. It is certainly
Yep.
is.
Well, I think for me personally speaking, it was very early on when I got my first job on campus.
Mhm.
It was great because, as new immigrant, you're here at what, like 19, trying to figure out how to basically live by yourself, live independently, and having studies to manage, being on a tight budget, and not knowing anybody around you. It can be a challenge at first, and yeah, definitely having my first job here, that definitely felt like, okay, this is going great so far. I just need to
Mhm.
like hang in
Nah.
there.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. Love it.
That's
This
perfect.
is something I love. And you're right. It's actually a very, good feeling, that first job, that first, achievement. It's really, heart touching and, amazing. I feel like this was an amazing session. Well, to
Mhm.
all those who are watching, this was it. Now you know what to do if you're planning on moving to Canada, or if you're already in Canada in your first year, first few months, it's never too late. Start learning French slowly, bit by bit. And maybe by the fourth year, you are able to waive off that 90% fee.
Yeah.
So here we are, MPM, for immigrants, by immigrants.
My favorite innocent. Who that is? Who that is? Big Papa. Foreign shit with the Timberlands. No brother with this shit. Yeah, we with this shit. Don't bother.